Before hearing.
Tom?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. As you all have heard, on Halloween, we had a major fire down there off of Montezuma Road, Canyon area. About 38 acres was burned badly. If you go down there, you'll see it. And it really stopped up traffic. I mean, it was cut off and impacted the college area, Talmadge area, Kensington for about 2.5 days while the operating. Since 2019 up to 2020, up to more recently, Kensington College area and others have been alerting the city about the dangers of this area, but interjurisdictional squabble made it difficult for anybody to clean out the canyon, and that was key. If anybody wants to know more about what may have caused it, so tomorrow at Hoover High School at 6:30 p.m. there will be a workshop by the fire department.
Thank you. Do I have any other non-agenda public comments? Yes. Paul.
I'll just add to that, I'll be, streaming the proceedings over Zoom, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'll be streaming proceedings over Zoom.
Oh, fantastic.
So if there are people who would like to attend but can't make the drive, et cetera, just see me and I can get you the URL.
Okay, thank you. Marlon?
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to introduce everyone to new staff that we have in our section in the public engagement team. We have Vanessa Tang here. We just stole her away from the city of Stampede, so she's gonna be hiding in our team. And then I also wanted to introduce a high school student from Swiss Ranch, Chloe Ng, who's also shadowing me. She's very interested in planning, architecture, and big engineering, so I brought her to the meeting. Thank you.
Yes.
Marlon, was a good intro to trying to say. 12 months ago, in November last year, there was a presentation approved about public engagement. I noticed that there's about 24 funders. Show the people that come. So thank you all for participating and being engaged in the public matter. And I'm wondering, maybe Marlon can answer this if you want to, order. What is the status of the public engagement development? Because I'm not aware of it, many things being issued, but I am aware that, for example, with the boards and commissions code of conduct, the way it was written, it was trying to inhibit public comment. So I'm just wondering what's happening with public engagement. Thank you.
Just real quickly, so with the inclusive public engagement guide, staff is working on production right now in terms of putting the chapters together for the actual inclusive public engagement guide. Next year, we will be embarking on more civic workshops involving the public in different sections of the city, talking about how the public can get involved in decision making. And then we'll be reporting back to a lot of our stakeholders, such as the focus discussion group, our boards and commissions, and a lot of the other stakeholders that we've contacted early on in the process to give them that. So we're working on it.
Thank you. It's taken a long time, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else non-agenda public comment? Okay, we will move on to the minutes. I did receive some over email. Tori Pines. Did you see that, Marlon? Okay, so did anyone else have any changes to the minutes that weren't emailed to Marlon already? Yes.
I have one question, the one already introduction by city attorney candidate Heather Herbert. It seems like it should be more like to introduce herself, or it doesn't really tell you like that. It could even say introduction of her candidacy by city attorney Heather Herbert.
By candidate.
Heavy, yeah, or deputy.
Okay.
A little so. Because that was her whole thing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Is it changes to the minutes? No. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the roll. If you showed up and I skip you, please let me know so I can add you to the list. I'm only gonna call the people who said here. Carmel Valley? Encanto?
Yes.
College area?
Yes.
Downtown,
Yes.
Eastern area,
Yes.
Kensington Talmadge,
Yes.
La Jolla. La Jolla, minutes. Are they not here? Can I hear
No,
them?
no.
Oh, okay. Linda Vista,
Yeah.
Mira Mesa,
Yes.
Navajo,
Abstain over here.
copy, Normal Heights.
Yes.
North Park,
Staying in with you.
copy, Ocean Beach approved, Rancho Bernardo,
Let's stay for living here.
Scripps Ranch,
Yeah.
Torrey Pines,
Yeah.
University,
Yeah.
Uptown,
Abstain.
we're here.
Warner.
Okay, great. Did I miss anyone? Did anyone walk in late? Okay, fantastic. We'll roll right on. Okay. Cool.
13 years,
Yes, 3 abstentions.
4 abstentions.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Julia Chase. I'm going to try to speak loudly, but I am a little bit. So if you can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll try to be louder. I am the Chief Resilience Officer with the city's City Planning Department. And I'm here today to present on the Coastal Resilience Master Plan. So why are we doing this plan? We know based off the best available science that we are going to see sea level rise. In the near term, around 2050, we anticipate that will be about a foot, a little bit under, a little bit over. As we move further out towards the end of the century, the projections become much wider because there's less certainty about what global greenhouse gas emissions are going to be. I will try. So as we move out to the end of the century, greater range of projections, a little less certainty on what we're going to see. It ranges from, it could be over a foot to it could be 6 feet. So big range as we look further out. But we know that we're going to see impacts. We know when we have coastal storms now that we already see flooding and we already see erosion. And so the city needs to be planning for these impacts. The first step in this process was completing a series of vulnerability assessments. These are essentially telling us what is exposed, what do we need to be worried about. We look at where we see sea level rise, both during normal high tide events, but also during storm events. And then we look at what assets and resources are exposed to narrow in on where the city could be focusing on strategies and our implementation to address that risk. We did this through development of Climate Resilient SD. This is the city's first climate adaptation plan. It was adopted at the end of 2021. It includes these 5 overarching goals that at a high level really look at how to make sure that we can continue our essential critical city services, like water, wastewater, making sure the roads are safe, and how do we build community capacity to respond when we experience sea level rise as well as extreme heat, wildfire, and precipitation driven flooding. So within that plan, we have a strategy to develop a coastal resilience master plan. So the process looks like understanding our exposure, where do we need to be focused in, developing a suite of strategies to address those risks, and then narrowing in on specific pilot projects. And so that's the phase that we're at right now with the Coastal Resilience Master Plan. It's starting to figure out what are some of these specific projects that will build community capacity and decrease risk to these hazard events. Through all of this, we're working to engage with our stakeholders and our communities because as we're planning for a resilient future, our community voices are a really important part of that. So I'm gonna go through this really quickly. This is essentially saying there's a lot of ways that we can think about how we adapt. We can either protect, really kind of thinking about more of those engineered solutions, keeping what is in place, to we can relocate, we can move a bike path out of harm's way. There's also a more hybrid approach where you look at maybe what are some of those near-term ways to protect with the elevate, accommodating risk. When thinking about both the longer term, maybe the relocation, if you're going further towards that end of the century. Within Climate Resilient SD, we are taking what we call a nature-based solutions approach. This is essentially working with nature or modeling after nature. So if you think of this as your kind of spectrum of infrastructure, gray infrastructure over here is your more traditional infrastructure. That's an underground water retention basin, it's a seawall. Then you move into more of that green infrastructure where you have an engineered component, but it is modeled after nature, all the way to the more natural as we're looking at a pure restoration of habitat area. We are choosing to prioritize this through Climate Resilient SD because provide multiple benefits. So you're going to get risk mitigation kind of wherever you are on the spectrum here, But as you get into more of the green, the natural, you also get some additional benefits, whether that's cleaner air, cleaner water, space for recreation in the community. When we did our outreach for climate resilient SD, it was resoundingly the preferred approach. We had 89% of people tell us for sea level rise that they wanted to see more nature-based solutions versus that harder approach. It also aligns with what we're seeing for state guidance with how to address sea level rise, as well as funding opportunities at the state and historically at the federal level as well. So what is the plan? It's essentially a prioritization of pilot projects. So we're looking at 6 locations along our coast, and we are trying to understand what is possible from a nature-based approach. What could we do here? What does that look like? And just start to develop some concept level ideas. So the 6 sites that we have are La Jolla Shores, Tourmaline Surf Park, Mission Beach, Ocean Beach, Dog Beach, which is more near Dog Beach, and then Ocean Beach Beachfront, which is from Dog Beach down to here, and then Sunset Cliff. We started with 11 sites and we narrowed it down to 6 sites based off of a series of prioritization factors, including were these sites vulnerable to sea level rise? Did the city have ownership? Are we able to implement the project here? Is there the possibility to improve habitat or improve coastal access? And then is the site one that is even possible or feasible or makes sense to put a solution on? Because there are going to be some sites where maybe that isn't the best choice. If you're looking for where do these types of solutions work and provide the additional community benefits. So these are our project objectives. We are aligning with the policy guidance of climate resilient SD and taking that nature-based solution approach. We are trying to mitigate that risk to sea level rise, both flooding and coastal erosion. And while we do that, we're trying to protect habitat, enhance recreation opportunities, enhance coastal access, and protect our historic and tribal cultural resources. These are resources that are really, really sensitive to exposure, so where we're able to protect them or able to honor that value. We're trying to do that as well. And so the core of the plan is really these concept level designs. What can we do with these sites? What does a nature-based solution even look like? Alongside that, we're also completing our CEQA analysis. We have a programmatic environmental impact report. We are working alongside our community members. We also have a stakeholder advisory committee that's made up of subject matter experts in coastal resilience and conservation, planning space. A lot of the regulatory agencies that will approve these projects are part of that advisory group, as well as some academic and research institutions. And then we are looking to coordinate with tribes and partner with them on this effort, as well as larger coastal resilience efforts. So I'm going to go through each of the designs. I'm happy to answer any questions about them afterwards. Just like level setting, this is what a concept level design looks like. It's kind of understanding like what does the project look like and trying to figure out some of those components. So for the La Jolla Shores, we have 2 proposed concepts. The first one is a reconfigured park. So we are retaining the beach space and the seawall and looking behind the seawall here, creating what we're calling an earthen berm or an earthen dike, which is slightly elevated ground that is essentially providing additional protection to any floodwaters that would be coming up and over the seawall here. With that, we are looking at potentially realigning and providing more efficiencies to parking by backing all of the parking up and then realigning that park space here. We would maintain the same amount of parking. We would not change total parking. But what this allows us to do is think a little bit more creatively about what this frontage looks like. Is this awesome elevated? Is it a floodable part? Is it an earthen berm? It gives us a little bit more flexibility there. Next slide. The second one is maintaining the current alignment of parking. It still has those earthen berms in the north and the south sections of the park, but it has an elevated seat wall. This is the most gray infrastructure that we have. I think it's important. What the seat wall is again, it's elevated, so it's going to provide protection to the parking lot and the community behind from flooding. Also provide space to sit as well as ADA access. And then just one other thing that I'll note about the earthen berms is we had a question of like, it's going to be a mountain, and it's not. We're really thinking of this as like a gently sloping area where you can picnic, where you can sit, where it's still recreation space, but is providing some of that protection element. Next, we have Tourmaline Beach. If you're familiar with this site, you come down a very steep slope here and you're just kind of dropped in the parking lot and there's no pedestrian pathway to the beach. So that was something that we were aware of early on as we were thinking about what's possible at this site and how do we enhance that public access component. We also have a quite large storm drain culvert that runs down the side. So we've been coordinating with our stormwater department to understand, is it possible to underground that culvert? If you're familiar with Fletcher Cove and Solana Beach, kind of similar to what they did there, where it then creates the ability to have a pedestrian pathway that runs down to the beach and is separate, so you're not reversing through a parking lot, but also some potential additional green space. In the front here, we've seen a lot of erosion and I would say transition of the beach from sand to a heavier cobble. So we are looking at kind of a reinforced toe that is going to have a cobble and engineered component, but be covered with sand and vegetation and provide some additional sand and repository of sand to that beach space. We're also looking at a formalized pedestrian pathway here. When we held pop-up events, one of the things that we saw were a lot of people kind of scrambling down an informal path to the beach. And so we're looking at, can we formalize that and make that a little bit safer, as well as some other drainage improvements in the bathroom space.
Julian,
And beach, again, we have two sites. Here we are looking at a vegetated dune that runs the length from Belmont Park down to Mission Beach Park. This is looking at a section of Mission Beach that is not currently included in the Mission Beach 10-year improvement plan. So this is a vegetated dune system. It would be on the beach side of the seawall, see here, rounded again and elevated to provide that flood protection with access ways out, so that it's easy to maintain that access to the beach, as well as ADA access. We're looking at some potential floodgates that could get into access ways to provide that protection, because you do, when you have pedestrian access, it then provide a pathway for the water, so they can be easily deployable and can be deployed in advance of site.
mhm.
The next one is very similar, except you'll notice down here, some of the park space is now what we're calling a perch beach. That's essentially an elevated beach. If you're familiar with Moonlight Beach and Encinitas, they have an elevated beach there with some volleyball courts. And so what that does is it recognizes when we do have the dune system here on the beach, we are taking up some of that beach recreation space. So this provides more beach recreation space. Essentially, it's also elevated and will be available even when you have more of those high tide flooding events. With this one, we would realign the seawall behind that perch beach. Next is Ocean Beach Dog Beach. This one in the more northern section near Smiley Lagoon, we have proposed habitat restoration. This is purely restoration. We're looking to make sure that we have adequate fencing and signage so that it can really be maintained as habitat. It's adjacent to where we currently have some habitat restoration being led by our Park and Recreation Department. We are then looking at a dune system again that's running the front side of the beach. And then behind that dune system, you can kind of see here, there's a multi-use path. We're proposing that this multi-use path connects the San Diego River Bikeway all the way down to the piers. If you go down to the next one, our Ocean Beach, oh, that's two more. Go to the next one up on that.
One more.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
One more.
There we go. Our Ocean Beach beachfront goes all the way down to the pier. And so similarly, the dune system is going to run all the way down to the pier and then have that multi-use path running behind it. Now go back. Here. One of the options that we are looking at with Ocean Beach is a potential relocation of the bathroom. The bathroom is currently located out on the sand, which is super convenient if you're at the beach. It also means it is the first exposed access to flooding. And so that is one of the things that we're looking at. Does it make sense to move it back? It is, I would say, a well-loved bathroom, as bathrooms can be loved by a community. And so we are sensitive to that, but we also recognize at some point this may be quite exposed and it needs to be moved back. We're also thinking about, could we potentially have a transit stop, a shuttle stop that would connect people to the beach without needing to, and can we think about circulation of that parking lot a little bit better?
Julian, so
This is just a nice visual of what that kind of looks like. So here would be a potential location for the bathroom. Would it be relocated? There's a current location, San Diego River Bikeway Trail. You can imagine it's going this way, and then this is the multi-use path that's going to run down to the pier. And here's a visual of what those dunes like, as well as the access points there. And then more. And then finally, our last project site is Sunset Cliffs. This is a site that we have seen significant coastal erosion already. We kind of have the boulevard, Sunset Cliffs Boulevard, broken into a northern section and a southern section. So for the northern section, we have these parking lots that are currently out on the cliff edge within the Sunset Cliffs, parks, natural parks master plan, they look at realigning that parking lot off the cliffs, and so we are carrying that, adopted plan suggestion forward, and looking at what that realignment look like, is it pulling it back, and there will be some additional studies that need, to figure out that specific traffic flow and what makes the most sense. But pulling those parking lots off the cliff edge allows us to do some native planting along the edge, and also think about what that trail network on the cliffs looks like. And then on the southern end, it is, I would say, quite space constrained, and we are seeing more accelerated erosion and hotspots along it. And so we were proposing that the traffic move from a two-way street down to a one-way street here. I think I have better graphics to show both of these. So this is in the north. It's hard to see probably for all of you, but it will be in the slides. Here's kind of like where the parking lot is now, and it would be pulled back off the cliff edge. For the northern section, we are proposing a separated pedestrian bike path and a separated bike path and separated pedestrian path that run the entirety of that section. Another thing that we see with this whole stretch of road is that pedestrian safety is a major concern. If you've ever walked it, sometimes you have to go into the roadway and then up over. It is not always accessible, and sometimes you're kind of maybe navigating your way over guardrails. And so we've heard that pedestrian safety is a primary concern for all who visit here, and is for the city. Another thing that we are looking at generally along this entire stretch of road is where can we add traffic calming features. We've heard from the community that cars will be too fast and it doesn't feel safe here. And then we also need some designated crosswalks. So that is something that we are looking at for the full stretch of road as well. We can go one more.
Oh, that one?
No more.
Yeah.
So this is the southern section of road. This is showing that one-way street now. That is because we are much more space constrained here. For the southern section, it will become a narrow again for the bicyclists like it currently is. It will stay narrow, which is part of the reason, again, to add in that traffic calming, because if you're going from a separated path to a share, we want to make sure everything is going nice and slow, be safe. But we are maintaining that separated pedestrian pathway. The reason for not continuing the bikeway is just it is space control. So those are our project designs. You can next slide. This is an overview of the engagement. So in the spring, we launched an online survey with our initial project concepts and asked for feedback. We also held community pop-up events at each of the project sites, as well as a few community-wide events. In early summer, we had 2 in-person community workshops, one that was focused on the OB and the Sunset Cliff sites, and one that was focused on the Playa Shores, formerly in Mission Beach. We also met with our stakeholder advisory committee during that time and began travel coordination. We are now into the fall of 2024. We've released the draft plan that is out and available for public review, and we anticipate releasing the PEIR by the end of this week or very early next week. So that is coming very soon. We had a community webinar on Monday night. We're now here at CPC presenting. This Saturday, we will be at the San Diego Library. They are doing a family event where you can make a seed bomb. There's a tree giveaway. It'll be super fun. We are also looking for additional community pop-ups that we can attend in December or January. I think particularly we'd love to engage with students and youth a little bit more. So always welcome any suggestions for that. Also meeting with our stakeholder advisory committee and leaving tribal coordination.
Interesting.
These are some of the themes we've heard. I don't think this will surprise anyone. Safety is a concern. Parking is how most people access the beach. They want to make sure that means they want increased coastal access to recreation opportunities. People love the beaches. They want to make sure that they can still recreate on the beach, whether that's volleyball, hanging out with their family, surfing, whatever it may be. Love the idea of thinking about how to include education and art, which I think is super cool and interesting. Support native plantings. Lots of our sites, there's the opportunity to also do stormwater improvements while we are doing these other sea level rise focused resiliency improvements. So that is certainly something that we are going to do. And then continued engagement throughout as these projects move forward. So the next steps, they're out for public review now. I would welcome all of you to review. Our feedback form is such that if you just want to provide feedback on one of the sites, you don't have to fill out all of the fields, you can just fill out one field to make it a little bit easier. Public review will be through early January, and they'll be taking all of the feedback both on the plan and PEIR and updating those. And we anticipate moving through the public hearing process in spring of 2025.
Do you have a specific date when public comment will end in January?
Only once the PEIR is released, so it'll be a full 45 days for the PEIR, so it will vary by a few days, but it should be about like early mid-January. You can also always, I don't know if I have sites yet to do, so there's an online feedback form that you can fill out for one or all project sites. You can also, if you don't like feedback forms and you just want to send an email, send any questions or comments to climateresilientsd@sandiego.com. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna start with Tom. Tom, do you have any comments?
No.
North Park? Downtown,
That's what I put down on my.
downtown, Delmar,
No.
Rancho Bernardo, Linda Vista.
Sorry, could you go back to the, contact information page? I think it was the slide for the last full Marlin. Okay, I'm just trying to get the email.
Climate resilient at the
And you sent me these slides today. Or
Mark.
just the.
I was on it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yep, Eastern area.
You mentioned that they weren't gonna come back on parking at the La Jolla location, but you usually mentioned for the rest location. Are they gonna try and keep the same parking that we now have?
We're looking to maintain the same parking for all of them. For Sunset Cliffs, even though we are realigning the parking spaces, we're keeping the same number of parking spaces, and we are maintaining on the landward side. So there's the roadway and then there's parallel parking on the landward side. We are maintaining that. Correct.
When you said something about I thought, you said that the traffic would be one way. Where's the corresponding way now?
You would need to loop happen through the community. And so that would be something that we need to look at a traffic study in order to make sure that wherever the traffic is routed, that will offer capacity for it.
And then which library is the one? Here.
That's something like, and the details are all on the project by page and the fair.
Carl Valley.
So,
Carl Valley.
Yeah, I had read through it briefly, so I didn't get it written with it. But these are, you did some project concepts at the site pretty much, right? And you called out or recognized how well the Cardiff engineered dunes work, the inventory, dunes and all that. And I think I also saw something in the presentation in what I got, that you didn't try to address the entire shoreline because that was outside of the scope. And my concern is that the water, the rising water, something will have to be done with the balance of the shoreline. Everybody.
yeah, so we did not adjust our timeline. Part of that is because we have other city projects going on in other locations. So we're not going to do the efforts of have additional planning efforts for any project that we are implementing. We are going to look at the ends of the project because we don't want it to be like, well, we have protection here and then there's just water flowing around. So that will be something that we take into consideration for all of these.
Okay, has there been any thought given to relieving the partners of the rising ocean by the drones and things like that? Kind of take the pressure off the sea walls and the dunes and everything else that eventually built.
To direct the water up the lagoon.
I'm sorry.
Are you saying relieve the pressure by directing the water up the lagoon?
She said, you mean, by relieving the pressure by having one.
Well, having a relief point because the ocean represents a lot of energy and it always finds the equilibrium. And as it's rising, it's either going to breach everything or if you are able to direct it or allow it to go in different areas where it can, bleed off, you might say, the energy, that would be good. So
We have
maybe
not looked into modeling that. We are looking to partner with Chris to get a better understanding of our coastal dynamics. and to have an established monitoring program for our, so that's certainly something. We applied for funding, we haven't heard back yet, so, pending funding, we'll be doing that work with them.
Thank you. Troy Hines? And Kanta. No, thanks.
Question about the real line parking on Sunset Boulevard, is that gonna be parallel parking, angled parking, parking lot?
We are thinking it is angled parking, but we do have, currently our engineering department is looking at, what does it look, is it better traffic flow wise if it's angled parking versus your full in parking? So that's something that is still to be.
Full in parking, you mean like, parallel parking?
No, that you would like reverse full.
Oh, we're just reversing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Navajo?
No.
Yeah, no, up down. I did have a question about, have you guys done any research about Mission Bay? I know, Mission Beach, obviously, the waves are gonna come up and come over, but the bay, we're talking about 1 foot of sea rise that we're 6 feet of sea rise inside the bay. It's just gonna come up on the other side as well. Are you gonna do any kind of berm in there? And then secondly, like I know Miami, they actually have pumping stations all throughout the city for when the water does flood in, which it inevitably does.
Mhm.
Have you considered any of those solutions?
Yeah, so in the Mission Bay Improvement 10-year plan, they have a series of projects that are looking at projects along the bay. It's not the entirety of Mission Beach, but it is a series of projects that are going to provide additional protection. Because we usually do see flooding on the bay side before we see it on the ocean side. When we see it typically on the ocean side right now is when we have those big swells and storm events coming through. Additionally, for pump stations, our stormwater department has been working on climate change design guidelines that are going to look at how we incorporate sea level rise and then flooding, precipitation driven flooding projections into all of our stormwater infrastructure. So that will help to get at that pumping concern, like making sure when we're building pump stations that they're built for that future sea level rise. That said, I do know that that is quite expensive. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what level is needed as we kind of move further out in the future.
Yeah, it's probably not as expensive as the real estate is in there, right? Yeah. All right, thanks.
You're amazing.
No. One thing I wanted to walk in that you may have covered it early on. One thing I noticed, that the National Oceanic Administration, projected going out past like 2030 was that as the water warms up around Southern California, a lot of these hurricanes that hit Baja California will kind of come up, and begin to hit San Diego more regularly, which now brings storm surge. And was there a consideration for like how high these dunes would have to be to accommodate storm surge and hurricane?
It's a good question. What we have currently for the ocean beach and the Mission Beach ones are based off of the city's current winter program. We don't have definitive heights yet. That will come in the next phase of things. So funny. This like concept is that initial engineering. And that I think it's part of the ongoing decision of how high and what level of protection do we want them to be, because there are trade-offs.
I'm assuming the online feedback form on line 2 there is not ready yet, because that'll be part of the pump package physical.
This is out, it's ready to fly for you. I had a QR code, just put it up there. How do you guys know,
Do you have a URL? Okay.
It should have been in the draft.
The feedback form is separate from the draft plan, so it's a separate smart feedback form.
How's your, how's tribal outreach going?
We are not getting as much response, honestly, as we want. We've been reaching out to both the tribes and some tribal organizations. It is an area that we would love to partner more closely with the tribes. We've gotten some initial feedback from the outreach and the letters that we've done, where there's interest for a few of the sites that have tribal significance, that if we were to move the project forward, that they would request that we have a tribal monitor there. But we would love to have more of a partnership and a collaboration, so that's something that we're continuing to look at what organizations are well positioned, because we also recognize that we need to be mindful of their time and resources, even grant funding to support that work, support their time. But I think it's going to be a continued effort.
Perhaps in the art during the space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, no question.
So I did have a question about the burns.
Yeah.
So are you, I saw that there's vegetation, is there plans to have some like covered dirt below the sand levels, or how are those berms going to be constructed? How are the dams being constructed?
There's normally some material beneath that's helping to pull that material together. It does depend on kind of the localities, there, the wind, of like how much we think that we need. We're also thinking that there will be some fencing along the back of the help, so we don't want all of the sand from the dunes mixing that with the use possibly. So that will help to anchor the dunes, but the material underneath will. We still want to get applications. I will add to, we've got some feedback, to kind of pick your vegetation carefully, because some vegetation can then, like, if you don't have it planted well, you can get more weeds, and then you have to go through and maintain that. It could be a bit of an extra work bill, so we are looking closely at kind of what does that plant palette look like as it is progress.
Okay, and then would there be anticipation to move sand around, like, to reinforce the berm?
From the beach itself,
Yeah.
no, it'd be, the dunes themselves would be added, so we won't need to take away from any of
Well,
the beach.
it might, so if the sand migrated down, like if there's big swells.
It essentially could be like a repository again, let's say. Beach, yeah.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I skipped public comment. Do we have any public comment? Yes.
I was part of the Zoom meeting earlier, which is excellent.
Thank you.
And in the context of public engagement, I would encourage you to have the people that led the subgroups go out and talk to the local planning groups that are involved. I think that Marlon may be the gatekeeper for that, but hopefully somebody who is the gatekeeper will allow that to happen, because, for example, Mission Beach is not even here today. And at the Mission Beach subgroup, there were only 2 people that were not experts or part of the city, and we got community input from 2 people, especially one of them was me. I don't live there. And 2 questions, you will not be able to answer these, but it's something that you'll have to consider. This sounds very expensive. I don't know where you're gonna get the money. And when you cannot get the money, I don't know how the city's gonna prioritize which projects they go first. And you don't have to answer that. Thank you.
How many seconds?
I mean, please keep your comments on time, but I will look at the clock now that you got it again.
Thank you for your presentation. This is only my humble perception. Looks like all about checker. My question is, how is this plan tailored to the region's vision? Number 2, who is the accountable leader? Please give us the name. Not just the title. What unit office to craft the law in relation to, the rules of the game, particularly legislation and the implementation aspect. These questions are our experience with this proposed implementation of SICA by the county and by the Air Pollution Control District. Very, very specific, very, very clear, but faulty. Thank you.
Yes, in the hat in the back, and then.
Yeah, thank you. My question is surrounding equity. I'm coming Canto, so. Sunset Cliff is probably the most direct access that we've got, and. To trolley line and the 3 bus stop. A lot of talk about parking and cars. Well, in my neck of the woods, the city's building and the sustainable development area, and we're getting extremely low income, no parking. We don't have any parking. So what is the plan? I didn't hear it, to get those people that will be living in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's a great question. So for some of our sites, like the Shog Beach site, we are looking at, can we add in additional shuttles that run from transit lines directly to the beach? We don't have that proposed for Sunset Cliffs. I'm not to say that we could add in, or look at what the shut stop might be like from the Cold Town to Sunset Cliffs, or maybe that runs those engaged from Sunset Cliffs. I think there's probably some additional coordination too, more broadly at how do we facilitate some of our more inland communities getting towards the coast if they're taking public transit. That is something that we've heard in the past, and it's quite difficult. It takes a long time, multiple times, and that does not that we're aware of that.
Carl, and then I can give you, yeah.
Hi, Carl Rand. I currently live in Mission Beach. And so people are kind of aware of what might happen. And you mentioned the bay, and the NOAA actually has shown that where sea level rises, the flooding is gonna come from the bay and go westward. A lot of people think it's gonna be the ocean going eastward, but it's actually the peninsula, the isthmus is actually higher on the ocean side than the bay side. So we're kind of aware of that, and haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I think that in the long term, the level of the bay goes up and down. And it's just channeled through a very narrow channel that feeds the whole bay, so I think that just have a lot on that to control the rise and fall of the bay. It's kind of the long-term solution, and I know that's kind of probably a federal project. But I just want to let people know that it's a little counterintuitive. Flooding is actually from the bay and go back instead of the other way.
I have to admit, I haven't heard anything that was said up there, so I don't know. But I think that, with all the global warming and the oceans rising and all that stuff, it would be prudent to not do any high density building within 100 feet of sea level. Most of San Diego is above 100 feet. So it's not like you're running out of land. In the case of, say, if a tsunami was coming, and you got all these people packed down close to sea level, they're not gonna take the trolley to escape. And you can't call a ride share, and you're not gonna walk or ride your bicycle away from a tsunami. It would be so easy to just sweep anything under 100 feet and all your stuff that you're building for the future with all these reasons why, just put it 100 feet up. Right here is way over 100. Anyway, that's part of what I came to say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to make a comment?
And then I just have 5 to say. Good evening, everyone. My name is Liz Pontian. I'm a principal in the State Planning Department. Also joining me is Matt Mindrala, who's an associate planner on my team. I just wanted to come in and introduce the timeline for the next 2025 land development. Next slide, please. What is the land development? Chapters 11 through 15 of the San Diego Municipal Code are known collectively as land development. Each chapter covers land development procedures, the review process, zoning, general regulations, and the plan district. The city planning department monitors and continually updates these sections of the code on an annual basis through submissions from members of the public, planning groups, industry professionals, advocacy groups, city departments, and recently the Free State List.
Can you speak a little louder, our microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm on full stick too. We're all apparently everyone.
You can step closer if you need.
No, I mean. Next slide. Updates to the code are grouped into 5 categories: clarifications, compliance with state law, corrections, regulatory reform, and then updates that will align the code with the city's climate, equity, and housing goals. Next slide, please. This is kind of the main one I wanted to go over with you guys. So in the next land development code update, we're anticipating releasing the draft amendments in late January of next year. Something completely new that the city planning department is launching is we're also going to be releasing a draft overview video. So for the next portion, I want to say we listened to you guys and heard. We've expanded our public outreach period to a 3-month period. So this is going to allow enough time for CPGs are going to get a month that they can watch independently. The overview video will be great. This allows time for 2 public workshops. We have time built in for 2 subcommittee meetings and then another CEC vote. This is going to be scheduled from January to April of 2025. And then finally, we hope to begin public hearings in May of next year. Next slide, please. And then pretty much that's it. If you guys have any questions, I know you guys already assembled a subcommittee. That was gonna be my other action item, but you guys took care of that already. But I'm just here to see if you have any procedural questions. I'm still reviewing.
Back up the next slide to the island again.
What people do questions, maybe just flip through that again so we can catch things we did the first time. Like,
I think this is the main one.
And are we gonna get these slides?
I'd be happy to. Marlon has them.
Yeah, so we did, so you anticipate meeting with the subcommittee in January?
So this is gonna be completely up to you. It's up to you if you want to allow, so how we kind of built it in is if you wanted to allow February for the community planning groups. Individually to kind of review the video and then come to the subcommittee with their questions or, yeah, I think we're prepared or we're assuming that we come back in April for the vote. We have plenty of time
Okay.
that we don't need to rush
So
that.
does anyone on the subcommittee want to weigh in on what, or do you guys want to talk amongst yourself?
I would say that, for the subcommittee's purpose, generally, you're gonna have the kind of the matrix
Mhm.
ready prior to
Yes.
the code language, right? I think it would be useful for the subcommittee to look at the matrix
Mhm.
in advance of the actual language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Once the matrix is ready, that usually does come out first, the language is gonna come out a few weeks later, and then, the new overview video as well will go over kind of like the matrix and then like high level overview of all the items.
Yeah, so if we could get that, when would you think you could release that one, get those multiple sheets?
Yeah, we have, I don't know if you guys have been following the legislation, but there are quite a few mandatory items that were recently approved. So we are still working on kind of compiling everything and then reviewing submissions. We had close to over 200 items again this year, that we had to look at, so.
Okay, well, that's a lot, so.
Yeah.
The sooner we can get
Yeah,
something.
no, absolutely.
Since you don't actually put in the draft language.
Yeah.
You know, it can say needs to comply with X, Y, Z.
No, absolutely.
You know, that would be sufficient. to
Yeah.
start with, But,
I like having a complete package though, usually, so we
yeah, and nice to have that, but we also kind of need to know what we should be focusing on.
Right.
So that is very helpful.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna go this way.
No comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
Fine.
Nothing.
It would be great to get direct notice of both the matrix and the actual language kids need to read.
Definitely, we will work with Marlon and I think we can, make sure you guys also on our email list, so. I think when I'm sending out my public or my notices, we can include the my list.
Hold on. Okay. Great, public comment, yes.
I got a second one of these things. Last year was presentation today, I asked the question. Can anybody submit a request? The answer was yes. But then that's still the answer. And then another meeting when I came, I suggested that people that were dissatisfied with, for example, how close structures should be to the line or whatever. Neighboring structure, that they can submit language to test that, to change that. And it doesn't have to be through the planning group, it can be an individual.
Absolutely.
And I want to emphasize that again, because there's a lot of people that have the mentality that, oh, well, the city is doing this. And when the city says, I can't contest. Well, and you can't. And I encourage you either formally as individuals, you don't like something in the development code, say something. And I'm really trying not to do these.
No. Sure. Stella, yes.
Really, thank you. You see, the flavor is going into second. Yes or no? They do not know. Reason, there is no engagement, community engagement. The air pollution control district now is in a hurry to implement the circa Monday. including the county. I read their proposal, we read it, and we identified loopholes. Loopholes, the air pollution control district should be disbanded.
Is that
The
an
county
update?
is doing their best to conform now with the mandate of SICA.
This is the city
And
code.
who is now the accountable office? Show the organizational chart. Who will perform this? As well as the plan for. the other one.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, any more public comment? Awesome, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, we are flying through. Okay, so as I mentioned last time, it's budget season, and as we discussed before, we, sometimes are a little over budget with our expenses. Now would be the time to write a letter requesting an increase in CPG budgets per year. I throw it out, do we want to write such a letter, and what amount would we be willing to go up to?
What's the CPG?
So we're CPG's community planning group, and so far our budgets for the year are $500 reimbursed. And I know some of you guys are working within, the constraints of those budgets. So I was thinking maybe we could request them to bump up to $800. With that, yes, David?
So I'm just commenting on what our budget is. Right now,
Yeah.
we're spending $500 to $600 a year. That's based on a discounted website. And scamming off someone else's Zoom account. We can't afford to hold in-person meetings because those cost too much. Once the discounted website goes out of effect, we'll be spending $800 a year. And if we're actually to have real in-person meetings, we would need $2,000 a year. I would suggest asking for more, but also asking for certain communities who do not have cities to meet in to get extra money.
That's fine. Anyone else? So would you want to request $1,000 for, do you think that would sufficiently fit your
Well,
budget?
$1,000 is an even number, but I would suggest we'll see what other people have.
Golden Hill.
Yeah, we kind of crunched this yesterday at our meeting. We just launched a brand new site for Barry Golden Hill. It looks really good, but the site's web hosting plus an email address. Is going to run us after that first year special deal, about $720.
Clear.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She gets a $500 email this year.
Okay,
Probably the same deal we got.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna keep going up. We do get our facility free as a city facility, but I imagine for folks don't have that, it costs even more. So 720 was the number we got for that projection.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so with their budget, yes.
Okay, so as long as we're gonna be considering giving CDGs more money based upon them not having city facility to meet at, what about considering those of us who are in communities that just don't have money to do much of anything, right? So, we have quite often a need, we're probably gonna have more of a need than anybody else to appeal things. And, unless we come up with a fundraising arm, we're really gonna be in a bad way. So, I mean, if we're going to be making exceptions, what about considering an equity thing? I don't know how that's gonna fly, but thought I'd put it out there. And 750, okay, yeah, we've got that. We have it, so far, we have a nonprofit that's been helping us with that, but we have a lot of people in our community that don't even really get online. If we want to get in contact with them, we gotta print up flyers. And we gotta go door to door. Like I'm saying here, we're probably at and we're poor people. I'm talking about collectively. We're at $2,000 already. And that's not out of our pockets.
Yeah, that 720 was just a web hosting email. And everything
Yeah.
else cost me.
I was gonna say 2,000 might be a
Me too.
nice round number.
Because a lot of people are talking about wanting to do hybrids and stuff, and there's the cost for that equipment. And then even just the basics are gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Even though they just get the. And then can we get a microphone for here? I mean, I can understand that it's really hard to yell at this room and try and do your presentation. But it's very difficult to hear and get the full impact of how to be great. I mean, the first one was a great presentation, the second one was short. We need to, we've got this audience, and I'm gonna say here, we're impressed.
What?
The requirements and expectations of the city council are good ones regarding publication advertising, was mentioned, you put everything up in the neighborhood in the downtown, we covered, such a broad area, and record retention are expensive. $2,000 is a starting point for the ultimate objective. We have to actually start maintaining 5 years of records and program right now, where we have a lot of sponsors and we have people that are eating cost for us, and I have business accounts that they're using my business account to do Zoom, and it's $2,000 is a reasonable starting point.
Yeah, I'll just tack on to what you're saying about a microphone. The feedback I'm getting in the Zoom session is that, most everyone can be heard. I think even in the corners, but our presenters, need to be a little louder, perhaps a little more diction in order to come through clearly on Zoom. So I'm thinking for those that, speak softly or have sore throat.
Do it again.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do have comments. So, that is a line item for the budget,
Okay.
is, get some sort of amplifier for the room.
Okay.
The owl device here is also an expense that we were considering, that runs about $1,000. And then, I think for the challenges that the city is charging us $1,000 for, if we only have 500, and we have to save up for 2 years to do one challenge and wipe out the entire fund. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for between $1,500 and $2,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I was just gonna say, there's a lot of other, we have an election that we have to do, and we have to actually purchase election software that's to go through that whole process, and just that election software is $1,500. So, yeah, I think, it may be a good idea for people to go through and maybe create budgets, and then, sort of consolidate what we think is a reasonable number to submit to the city for an increase, but I think it's definitely, everybody could use more than $2,500, that's nothing for a year.
Didn't realize we had it so good.
Is there any more board comments? Yes, you're fine.
Is there any, see, we don't even know best practices, like our planning group is, kind of basically didn't go much anywhere, like we don't have nobody got any people coming on. We just have, we got the Zoom license, we have a website that we got very cheaply made for us, but we don't, it's very hard outreach, like. I don't know, I think it would be great, I asked Wally for this, like, if we knew best practices, like what works. And if we could, as a group, maybe get a discounted rate on some of this stuff, there's one of us. And I don't know how much the city's gonna spend, the city is, I think, aren't they having budget problems as it is, like, and I don't know how much the city really wants to help us, so they're gonna say.
Yeah. Brings us out a little bit,
Back on the speaker thing, at a minimum, we should have a little X on the floor in the center. Because he's handling.
We can talk about this at the end, if you don't mind, because we have the hard 8 PM stuff, we still have a couple more things, Becky?
Oh, I was just gonna add that, the city isn't really, lately hasn't been willing to really accommodate. So I would worry that asking for that much increase, maybe they would.
Do you think it's more of a non-starter and they'll just say no, or do you think it's something we can ask for a lot and maybe
I don't
compromise
think
on
there
it?
is any money, it doesn't seem like. So, I mean, yes, obviously, every planning group needs the money, obviously. This is something that can't be run the way it is. But I like the idea of asking the city, maybe for a group contract or something, some way to lessen these expenses. If we all kind of come together, rather than just say we all need X amount of dollars. I mean, yeah, ask for it, but I don't.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I'll go on, Carmel, I go on with $1,000 more of the group ones.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any more board comment? Yes, Golden Hill before I move
Yeah,
to some public
would it
comment.
be helpful if during the next CPG meetings for each of us, we put together, you know, a rough budget for it, kind of average it out and present it to the city and say, hey, this is what's costing us, right? Versus just asking for 2,000 and hopefully they.
Yeah, I want to do both just because people are putting in their budget memos now, so I want to make sure to get a letter in front of some city council members. I mean, my idea if this passes is I would draft up a letter, I'd send it out to all of you and you guys can kind of forward it along to your city council members. As to find someone who could possibly take up this mantle for a budget request. And then we can move forward like that, because then when the budget hearings comes and we're actually fighting for it, and then we have like a breakdown. So this will be a multi-month project, yes, Brian.
$2,000 is a starting point realistically. Ask for it. Is it gonna happen? No. Other commentary about, you know, best practices. Bunch of times we've talked about why isn't the city providing a template for a website that we should all be using, a procedure we should all be using. That all kind of went, you know, it's not that it went nowhere. We didn't like go to them with a formal proposal. But it all falls in line with that. If there's no, you know, if everything's not streamlined, then everyone is going to constantly need something different. Like right now, I'm paying out of pocket $150 a month for our group to meet because we can no longer use the facilities that we had before and we can't go to the libraries early enough. When my term is up, I am done. Like I've got 2 little kids and everything else. I'm not asking the rest of the board to pony up right now. I'm gonna, you know, we voted in, Marlon helped us make an adjustment to our operating procedure to go remote, so I'm gonna push as many meetings remote and Zoom as I can to get through the rest of it, and I'm gonna work with the group to try and come up with some ideas. But you have to ask for at least $2,000 and at least use it under the premise of the simple fact that there is no guideline, there is no best practice, there is no, here's exactly what you should be doing and how you should be doing it, and without that information, people absolutely should be asking for that much money because they're all being told to figure it out. And if we want to do outreach and you want everyone to expand their boards, and don't take this long, everyone, if you don't want the board to be a bunch of people of a certain age and a certain, look, then you need to help everyone to get there. And we can't do it the way it is. People don't have the time.
Yeah.
So you need to ask for the money to give people a fighting chance if you want it to maintain.
Any more? So I want to wrap this discussion up and have a vote on it in the next 5 minutes so that I have 10 minutes for the other 2 things we added to the agenda. So please keep your comments brief. Yes, Bob.
Very brief, I'll help you with the budget related to the new CPG, because we have the operating procedures, and it's actually very specific as to what the city expects. And I'll help you with that, we'll start the budget, you want this, you want this, you want this, these are your thoughts.
Thank you, North Park.
Just real quick, I think all of us there's a lot of people that have a lot of experience and there's a lot of new people. And maybe if we all share some things that we're doing, might help for the new people to do things. I know it's one and we, more than 500 is great, but I'll be glad to share my techniques for saving money and doing things too. And so maybe all of us can contribute that, and we can teach the other people that are new coming in.
Yes.
Thank you. 2 things. One, if the city's serious about engaging with the public, this won't be a problem getting a couple grand per group, right? $100,000. Second thing, if we file an appeal, right, we should get, just like in sports, we should get our timeout back or whatever, our appeal back, right? We get our funding reimbursed to us. And we win, right? We file an appeal, we win, give us our money back, so we can do it again, right? It's hard enough for some of our communities to come up with 1,000, but when we win, and we still lose our $1,000, that really shitty.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Very briefly.
Shit.
The city has the money. The fluid is the problem. 35% only. When you say fluid,
you could draw to the bank right away and use it. 65% is here, waiting for the maturity of investment. That is wrong. 2,000 unlimited, depending on the performance of that particular CPG, and they can ask for refund or reimbursement.
We appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have one comment.
But one thing,
Oh.
one more, very important, to accomplish your CPG mission. All CPG should honor and respect and think for a solution of anyone from the city territory, even if you are from the south, from the east, from the north, from every direction. Go to CPC,
Thank you, sir.
Navajo,
Thank you.
Navajo should address.
Sir,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Can I
you.
have a motion?
We are
for
one city.
final comments?
I have one final comment, is currently this is a reimbursement.
Yeah.
So the city would not be paying $2,000 for 48 CPGs, they would all be paying the money that's actually used. So the total price tag will be a lot less.
Well, I would like to see it not reimbursed.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Yeah, it's, things that happen in OB, I don't think the city's gonna start giving anyone money anytime soon.
also it'd be nice to be able to
Motion,
I move we authorize the chairperson or I want to say asking for $2,000 or even this.
Second.
thank you. Okay, we had first from Carmel Valley and then second from Canada. Awesome. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Okay, wonderful. I'm gonna go ahead and call the roll. If I skip you and you came in late and I don't have you, please just let me know. Carmel Valley.
Yes.
Encanto.
Yeah.
College area,
Yes.
downtown,
Yes.
eastern area.
Yes.
Greater Golden Hill.
Yes.
Kensington Talmadge,
Yes.
Linda Vista.
Yes.
Mira Mesa,
Yes.
Navajo.
Yes.
Normal Heights,
yes.
North Park.
Yes.
Ocean Beach is a yes. Rancho Bernardo,
Yes.
Scripps Ranch,
Yes.
Torrey Pines.
Yes.
University,
Yes.
Uptown.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? Did anyone
Yeah.
come in late? Oh,
No.
Del Mar, okay. And what is your vote?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Andrea, you have the floor. That passed.
Okay, so while he's getting that set up, just very quickly recap what happened. First of all, thank you for the support, the letter, first of all. And thank you for those of you who came out. When I had my 10 minutes, which I did not think was sufficient because city gets whatever they want. Back in that meeting, they just kept asking, how much do you need? But we were told 10 minutes. At any rate, a good 1/3 to 1/2 of my presentation as the appellant, representing the appellant, was the CPC letter. So you can see how major that was. Now they switched up on it at the last minute. They have one argument that they took down from the website. The first argument was telling us that it met the zoning requirements and it was just based on the footnote, right? And then when we found out about the footnote, they yanked that down from the website and they went to an entirely different metric. So we won the appeal, but it was, and that's, right? But it was somewhat of in my opinion, I know that I'm discouraged from saying that because we want to keep enthusiasm up in our environment, in our community, but I feel like it was a Pyrrhic victory. Because what happened is by switching the metric from the actual zoning with 20,000 square feet lots, which would have allowed only 12 homes to be built at that site down from 25, by switching that metric to dwelling units per acre, they said, oh, you're so right. We shouldn't have 25 homes, we should have only 23, was it 23 or 22? So you're right. Staff, go back and do it again and tell the applicant they can have 2 less homes. And then Rob, you can take it from there.
Thank you, Andrea. So, real quick to clarify, we didn't win the appeal. They changed, their ruling. The city ruled against themselves, made a motion to send it back to staff, right? So we didn't really get a win. They said-
Rob, they did uphold us.
So Heidi Von Bloom was at our planning meeting 2 nights ago. Right, that's pretty crazy. We barely get our planner. We got the director. Right, so I ripped off her presentation. She's there to talk to us about footnote 7, which thank you guys for last month. It's great. If you didn't see the KPVS article, it was pretty awesome. So that's cool. We're in the news. Yay. So calculated minimum or maximum permitted density, 113.0222. Right, we know for single unit lots, which is what our appeal was based on, you take the area of the underlying base zone, you divide it, any fraction you round down, that's how we get to 12 on Clover. They're now coming to us with an argument of, we didn't know a lot when we filed the appeal, we're learning a whole lot really quick, thank you guys, right? But they posted on the notice like, hey, 0 to 4, right, with a base zone of RS12, right? So they're like, yeah, cool, you're right, 0 to 4. So they looked at our community plan. This is from Heidi's presentation to us Monday night. And they say, yeah, this square here in our field in this area, right, is residential very low, 0 to 4 dwelling units acre. That's a metric we use, right, in multiple zonings for lot sizes fit in there. RS12, 11, 12, 13, 14. They all fit within that category, right? But you typically use dwelling units per acre when you're doing multi-unit buildings, right, apartments, things like that. None of this is zoned, but it's all single family zoning. So you use the underlying base zone, RS12, 20,000 square feet. So now look at it down here. They're like, oh, density of, she's conflating things, right? So now she's saying it's dwelling units per acre, because she doesn't say it in here. You don't see footnote 7, but in Encanto, we're back to this footnote 7 problem, 5,000 square feet. She came in, you know, we wrote this, we as a collective wrote this letter, was well received by everyone at the city. But it got action. We got her at our meeting. And she came with a plan to remove footnote 7 by February, with the caveat that, hey, anybody that's already filed under it, they get to keep it. Even though she says, we don't know how it happened. We don't know who did it. All we know is when it happened, right? And we know that it's wrong. It shouldn't be there, right? But in the meantime, the 2 projects we're aware of can continue forward, right? And they're using this dwelling units per acre now, which is effectively a core dwelling units per acre, even though it's not very dense. It's, thank you. It's twice as dense as what the base zoning allows. Where am I going with this? So she asked for us. I know what, yeah,
Okay.
this is, I'm getting to it, right? So she asked us, she said, hey, guys, agree to our plan. And we said, no. CPC already wrote a letter. We already wrote a letter. We let the mayor know, we let you know what our demand is. Effectively remove footnote 7 immediately. We don't care what your internal timeline is for that, but nullify it now. Executive order by the mayor, right? That's where we're at. So we wrote a letter, right? We got it drafted here tonight. Here's the draft of the letter. It's got Andrea's signature already. We're just waiting for a correspondence person to push it out. But what it says is, hey, Mayor, executive order, nullify footnote 7. Any projects that rely on it, past, present, or future, no good, right?
And you'll see that CPC and our planning group are referenced in it.
Yeah, so we reference, there's 2 letters that are referenced, we have 2 attachments. The letter that you guys wrote last month, and then our letter that's dated the 1st. I can pull up, well, this is, no, that's not our letter. We wrote another letter on the 1st that effectively says the same thing. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for you to endorse this document. Not to write a whole other letter, just endorse it, please.
Short little 2 sentence, 1 sentence, we endorse the letter that.
One, three, maybe.
I don't have, like.
Is this the whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can read, yeah, this is our letter, this is not the one that we're asking, we're just asking for endorsement, like you endorse the enclosure. This would.
Oh,
be-
so we endorse you saying our letter is part of your letter.
You endorsed this letter.
This was a big one.
Yeah, I can read this. You want me to read it?
Yeah,
Okay. So request for executive order regarding footnote 7 in table 13104D of San Diego Municipal Code. This is to Gloria, well, this letter is to Todd Gloria, and from our planning group, right? On September 30th, 2024, the Community Planners Committee, CPC, sent a letter urging the removal of footnote 7 from table 13104D in the San Diego Municipal Code. As there's the code cited, and halting of all projects relying on it. Similarly, on November 1st, 2024, the Choice Valley Community Planning Group sent a letter echoing these calls. CPC and CVCPG have submitted that footnote 7 conflicts with several fundamental legal protections and policies, including the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution, the Equal Protection Clause of the California Constitution, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, Fair Housing Act, California Assembly Bill 686, affirmatively furthering fair housing. Additionally, CVCPG submits that the processes outlined in the San Diego Municipal Code to ensure constitutional due process and rezoning actions were not followed. These laws and policies collectively mandate and facilitate the elimination of racial bias in housing practices, the dismantling of segregation, and the promotion of equitable access to housing opportunities. Footnote 7 perpetuates racial and economic disparities, targeting historically underserved communities in Choice Valley and southeastern San Diego. During this Choice Valley Community Planning Group meeting on November 18th, 2024, City Planning Director Heidi Von Bloom presented a request for CVCPG to recommend a process for the removal of footnote 7, beginning with consideration by the Planning Commission in December of 2024. However, CVCPG declined to endorse this process after Ms. Von Bloom clarified that current projects relying on footnote 7 would not be halted. To ensure compliance with these laws and uphold the principles of justice and equity, CVCPG unanimously approved an alternative recommendation that urges you to issue an executive order that 1, no city official, department, or subdivision of the city administration approve any projects relying on footnote 7, whether past, present, or future. And 2, footnote 7 is deemed invalid and without effect. We respectfully request that you take immediate action to address this matter and demonstrate your commitment to ensuring justice, equity, and compliance with federal and state laws. We look forward to your written response by 14 calendar days from the date of this letter.
Okay, thank you, Delmar. Okay, so first things first, I guess I didn't specify that this would be an amendment to the agenda being an action item, so we have to vote first. No, it's okay. Vote first on making this an action item, and then we would vote on the action.
I'll second yours.
What was the motion? Paul.
Move to add this item to the
Nine.
at the next.
Great. Thank you. Okay. I'm just running low on time. Do I have any objections? So it's not to roll call the vote. Wonderful. So I have a motion on the new action item.
So moved to endorse CVC.
I'm going to do this stuff.
Yeah. Any discussion on the? With
Well,
your.
it's not the motion, actually, even got the letter.
Yeah.
Um,
So now that's an action item. Yes, David.
so do you know that the mayor can issue an executive order and suspend implementation of footnote 7 immediately? Is that something you legally have the power to
From
do?
my understanding of the Strongware system, he is in control of the departments. I don't know about halting.
Right, because I mean, as right now, footnote 7 is a legally enacted piece of the code.
You're legally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an enacted piece of the code. And it wasn't a ministerial, I mean, wasn't it a sort of a ministerial action like Sunroad, where I think someone forgot to check the airport zone for height. Whoever did this, approved those permits, or is in the process of approving those permits, is following the
Yeah.
piece of that was stuck into the code.
Worried about potential lawsuits.
I'm just thinking, are we asking for something he cannot do?
Yeah, at the meeting, Heidi kept, at the appeal, Heidi kept saying, we have to check with state law. She kept referring to the state, and I was confused as to why, but it sounded like we can't do anything about it. She made it sound like their hands are tied.
Wait, was it state law or is it HCD where they have to get permission to down on something? Those are two different.
State law for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just exactly what David said, because, what needs to be considered is if it's a downzoning, then it's a loss of potential housing in the city, so. And it becomes a conflict with the housing.
Okay, so our argument, and I made the argument, our argument is that that is a state law that you violated state law, AFFH law, when you put the footnote in. So it was illegal at the time that you did it, not just based on AFFH, but all of these other more fundamental laws. So our argument is that it's not legal law, it's not legal. And I would say this, that even if you were to say that it is, which we're contending that it is not, and it seems to me that CPC is contending that it is not. We know that Mayor Gloria put an executive order that said not to enforce certain parking restrictions during COVID. He can do executive orders. He can just say to the city, we're not enforcing this law right now. We're just not enforcing. He's done it before, but this is even more fundamental to me.
Thank you.
Similarly, what he was discussing, even if he has the power, is it in his interest to open himself up to a lawsuit from these two developers who have these projects approved? The state's not gonna fight on your behalf, even if it's not a legal change to that law, that footnote, but these developers will, they will fight back. And is he just totally tied?
But why, so what you're saying, so he has a choice, really. He probably is going to get sued, either way he goes. And yes, we know he's probably going to lean towards the developers,
And so
right?
would it make the letter more effective to basically allow these two approved projects to go through, but say this footnote is null for the rest?
We would not come out and enforce like that, because we're losing green space, we hardly have any left. We have nothing to leverage really good development in our community with. So to let these two projects go, I mean,
I see no reason not to endorse the letter. I mean, you're gonna struggle on some of these legal points, but I don't see a reason why we should.
Yeah, that was the basis for the law.
yeah.
If that was illegal, and for the city has completed that by removing footnotes.
No. No, she said it was incorrect. We wouldn't stand by it today. She parses her words.
Very much.
Yes,
Yeah. But it's stunning, it's that the planning department to suggest that the applicant could detrimentally rely on an illegal provision. And I think that happened.
yes, yes, and one of the,
Stunning.
it is absolutely, it might have been you called in comments, it was someone who called in online and said, listen, if the developers sue you, you'll just have to eat that, because you put in a law that was unlawful that they relied upon, so you've got to eat that.
Thank you, and then we are 5 minutes past the 10 minutes, I do wanna be fair to Carl, so Rob.
I just wanted to clarify, this was phase 2 of the land development code update of 2019. No surprise that these guys are here today talking about, ooh, now you got a long time, because when you go back and watch, CPC was up there pleading for 3 months of extension during this phase 2 update because CPC didn't have time to review. That's on the record, that's their statement. Planning Commission said no when directly asked by a commissioner, what is this footnote, right? The city responded, oh, it's to make it more consistent with the community plan. And so he says, so it makes it more consistent with the community plan? They say absolutely, absolutely false, completely misspoke. If not intentionally.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I moved it with the CPC support, my endorse the law, whatever language, yeah.
One second.
Mr. Mary Laura.
You got a motion to approve it as an action item.
But he made the motion,
Yeah. Okay, but you go back to the first one. Laura can be second. Okay. And then he's.
We're trying to help you get moved.
Yeah, thank you, no, I appreciate it. Okay, I will, order. Okay, Carmel Valley.
Yeah.
Encanto.
Yes.
Yes.
Del Mar Mesa.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Yes.
Eastern area.
Yes.
Greater Golden Hill,
Yes.
Kensington Talmadge,
Yeah.
Linda Vista,
Yeah.
Mira Mesa,
Yes.
Navajo,
Yep.
Normal Heights,
Yes.
North Park,
Yes.
Ocean Beach is a yes. Big jump, Rancho Bernardo.
Yes.
Scripps Ranch,
Yes.
Torrey Pines.
Yes.
University,
Yeah.
Yes.
Uptown.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Unanimous.
Let me know if you want to. I'm gonna give you the floor. I guess we're gonna start packing up at 7:55, so. No, it's okay.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. Yep, we have it on, I do have it on.
Well, thanks, Andrea, for allowing me to speak today. I'm Carl Rand, Carl with a K. I'm on the Pacific Beach Planning Group, was the chair from 2016 to 2022. Andrea and I used to have a lot of conversations after the CPC meetings about vacation rentals. So how many of you looked at the letter that she sent out? Okay, and had any of you heard about this project before? Because it has gotten some media attention. But for those of you who haven't heard about it, it's basically, okay, so this is a PowerPoint. And if you could just flip through a couple of things, this is the location, if you go to the next map. This is French Gourmet, anybody ever been to French Gourmet? So it's at the location of the French Gourmet. For the gentleman who was talking about only building, at 100 feet or whatever. So this is probably 25 feet above sea level. And what's being proposed is, and right now there's a current height limit of 30 feet. And what's being proposed is a 23-story building that essentially would be mostly a hotel with a huge parking garage at the base. And we're basically saying what it is the developer is building a middle finger to the community, because that's basically going to be the shape of it. This is something that is uniting a lot of people. Can you bring up the letter that it's on there? It says, no, there's another thing. Is there more than one?
Oh,
Okay, but yeah, instead of the PowerPoint. Yeah, this is a PowerPoint that was prepared and has been given by our current chair, Dr. Marcella Bothwell, many times, but it says PBPG letter. So kind of the same way that the prior person kind of was reading a letter, kind of summarizing the situation. I prepared, the letter that she sent out. And basically, it starts out by thanking the mayor for his involvement. So basically, this project was just kind of sprung on everybody. And the reason why it was sprung on everybody, and again, it's a 23-story building. You would think normally that would be a process 5 or a 4, or, it might even make it to the city council, depending. But it basically is using a bunch of loopholes under the state density bonus laws. And one of the loopholes that it's using is it deals with the process. So instead of being, a process 5 or 4 or 3 or 2, it essentially is a process 1. So it doesn't even go to the housing commission. It certainly doesn't go to the council, where it normally would. So process 1, it's like people who live within 100 feet of this thing didn't get any notice. I mean, it just kind of like appears out of nowhere. It's a problem. And so Mayor Gloria, to his credit, I think really does not want this to be developed. Of course, he is head of the executive branch and DSD and everything like that, so I don't think he can officially oppose it. At this point, he's got to be somewhat impartial, but he has expressed his concerns. It basically would have, again, 23 stories. We're talking about 150 hotel units. There's not a problem with parking. They're gonna build a lot of parking to support the hotel units. In terms of how are they getting away with this? There was the density bonus law has been around for over 40 years. But last year, I think it was, they made amendments to it. And I think that there's some unintended consequences here. Yeah. Okay, so basically, I just, again, want you to be aware of it. I'll tell you right now that for more information on this, pbplanning.org, our website has all of this information. It's got the letters from Blake Spear and Berner. Tony Atkins was the first one to jump on this, saying this, if you want affordable housing, this is a nightmare, because this is going to be the poster child for everybody who's criticizing the affordable housing laws that we just enacted. And of course, the NIMBYs also. So we haven't found anybody who thinks this is a good idea. The developer is scheduled to go to the YIMBY Democratic Club tonight, because I guess they thought that maybe that was going to be a friendly thing. They canceled. It's interesting. Again, please go to the PD Planning Group website and look for this information. There's actually a separate entity that's been formed to a C4 organization. They're collecting money. We've got an attorney writing things. Right now, again, it's ministerial, but the mayor, what the mayor did was he sent a letter to ACD, okay, the agency that kind of oversees the density bonus law, asking them to say, can this happen? Is there any guidance that says that you can provide 10 affordable units to get you to below the essentially sky's the limit housing limit, or rather height limit. So right now, the processing is stayed. But as soon as they get that letter, so anyway, we're asking the individual planning groups and actually HCD, maybe next month, if the timing works out, to endorse this letter.
Thank you. Do we have any comments? Because I know Marlon has a few things. Yes.
The PowerPoint, is there a link to that site?
The PowerPoint is, there's a link to it on the planning group, but PD Planning Group website.
Thank you.
Yeah, along with the letters from Atkins and I mean, they couldn't have written stronger letters against this. And so again, I appreciate your time. I'll be hanging around outside if you want to talk to me about it some more.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay, Marlon, you had staff report?
Oh, yeah, appreciate it, let me find my stuff here.
Well, while Marlon's pulling that up, if you remember a few months back, the Measure B people came and presented to us, and they did ask me if anyone wanted to be on a Measure B focus group. So if that is something you're interested in, please let me know.
What was Measure B?
I think that's the only announcement I have.
Right, so really two quick things. One of them's really brief PowerPoints, and I wanted to update everybody that City's Sustainability and Mobility Department, SUMO, released a revised draft of the Mobility Master Plan, which will combine community, load, and objective-specific planning into one comprehensive document to prioritize mobility projects and to identify programs that will have the largest benefit in our community on the environment. The plan will be presented to the Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee in early 2025. And CPC members are encouraged to listen to that presentation and check out the plan's webpage for more information. A link to the Mobility Master Plan is available on the Sustainability and Mobility Department homepage. I can forward that. And then real quickly, everybody, thank you for indulging me. Really quickly, I have a quick introductory PowerPoint that you guys will be seeing on an initiative called the Citywide Trails Master Plan. So the Trails Master Plan is an implementation item of both the Park Master Plan and General Plan. The project was identified as a priority through community input during the development of the Parks Master Plan, showcasing that this item had key stakeholder interest and was strongly desired among the communities at large. Trails Master Plan will guide the development of infrastructure to support walking, rolling, biking through urban and natural areas. In addition, the document will provide goals, policies, design standards at the development of the city's trails. The Trails Master Plan will also incorporate existing trail policy documents and supplement existing conservation policy documents. This is a quick timeline. Basically, staff has started this process in the summer of 2024, and they're working with, through their public engagement phase and expect to get the hearing in summer of 2027. These are some of the things that they're currently working on, mainly existing conditions, well surveying, as well as some community events that they will be setting up for engagement. The initiative basically is funded by a coastal commission grant, and as part of that grant, they're going to be identifying goals and policies for future trail development, updating the local coastal programs, trail-related goals and policies, and then the grant aims to survey existing trail networks in the city, identify deficiencies and opportunities, and develop partnerships with community-based organizations, such as the ones listed here. And these organizations, which are the San Diego Canyonlands, who was at our meeting a couple months ago, San Diego Mountain Bike Association, Earth Discovery Institute, and the Urban Collaborative Project. So these CBOs pretty much represent a range of trail user groups, from recreation-based organizations, conservation groups, leaders in equitable recreation access. Pretty much a lot of individual organizations here have diverse geographic reach, so that's why they're part of our partnership. And basically, just stay connected. There is a Trails Master Plan webpage on our site if you want to get involved and also sign up for the update. That's kind of what I have as a preview for you guys. Staff will be probably coming to CPC next year for the more formal presentation, but I wanted to give you guys. Say that again?
Would you give us the Andre?
Of course.
All right, does anyone have member comments before we adjourn?
No.
Okay.
If you guys could help put the table in there.
Yeah.
Make sure we're gonna have the-
Chair.